Hey everyone, this is Lomi, and spring's finally here, which means allergies. Also, it means sundresses, so this was a perfect time to explore an idea I had to use a pattern I shared earlier this year to make a halter top dress. You can see I've cut this a little larger than the original pattern, which is what's available on my site, and that's to give me space to add a skirt at the bottom. I didn't really measure, just kind of guessed an extra ½ inch or so would be plenty. The cups haven't been altered at all, and for the skirt I decided to make a high-low skirt using a rectangle of fabric with a hole cut not in the middle, but closer to one end. To determine the size of the hole needed, I divided the measurement of the bottom edge of the band by 3.14 to find the radius of my circle, then marked and cut that, but I actually rounded the circle size up a little because I wanted to add some gathers in the back so the back of the skirt would be a bit fuller, and also so I would have space for a seam allowance on a rear opening. If you're lost in that explanation, I have a video about making circle skirts for dolls that should answer all your questions, and I'll leave a link to that in this video's description. I rounded the corners of the skirt and originally considered adding lace to the hem, but I thought it would be overpowering, so instead I opted to finish with a lettuce edge using a tiny zigzag stitch with contrasting black thread on the edge of the fabric. Even woven cotton fabrics will make a mild wave pattern when finished this way. It's subtle on this fabric, but should be a nice touch. It just takes forever to do. After the skirt is hemmed, I sew the darts into the cup and cup lining. The assembly of the top doesn't vary at all from the tutorial I shared previously, which I will also include a link to in the description, since I go into greater detail of the process in that video. Sometimes when I'm doing projects like this, that are more about how I convert something that I've already shared into something new, I'm not really sure how much of the process needs to be shown. Sometimes it feels a little stale to share the same processes over and over, but I don't want people to get lost when they're following along either. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I'd love to hear other people's opinions on the matter, though. I attach the cups to the band with basting stitches, then sandwich them between the band's outer fabric and lining, which in this case is the same material. I used a thicker white material for the cup lining because the dotted fabric is really sheer and I didn't want them to be see-through. I fold the cups back and pin them out of the way, then close the top edge and the sides of the band, leaving the bottom open to attach the skirt later. To ensure the skirt can go on over my doll's hips, I add a slit in the back of the skirt and sew on a V-shaped facing with right sides together. The stitches are done in a V as well, with the slit on the skirt opening all the way down to the point, and that helps turn the fabric right side out more smoothly. I finger press and pin the edges of the facing so they lay nicely, then top stitch along the new V opening to make everything stay in place. The edges of my facing were finished with a zigzag stitch, but you could also use fray check since it's not going to be visible on the inside of the skirt. I can add a snap or two to this opening later to keep it closed. I fold the skirt in half to find the center front, then line that point up with the center of the top, with right sides of the fabric together. I pin the skirt smoothly across the front and sides. Then I fit the finished edges of the opening in the back with the facing to the ends of the band. I fold some pleats into the back that gather up all the extra fabric near the rear opening, and that adds the extra fullness I want there. I sew the skirt to the band, careful not to run over any pins. The last thing to do to finish construction of the dress is to turn the open edge of the band's lining under by a 1/4 inch or so and then sew it closed. You can do this by hand and get a really nice result, but I use the machine to spare myself some shoulder pain. I do this by running stitching across the front of the dress about 1/8 of an inch above the top edge of the skirt, so that it's nice and uniform. This will hold the fabric on the inside nicely too. To tie the halter top around the doll's neck, I add some long black ribbons to the tops of the dress cups. I had considered sewing the neck straps into the seam of the cups themselves, but chose not to because of how sheer the fabric is. I didn't want the black ribbon to be visible through the front of the cup. Instead, I opt to hand sew it to the inside where the lining is opaque enough that it won't show through. Then, to pretty up the dress a little bit, I pin on a remnant of black trim I have and stitch it on by hand. I finish the ends of the trim with fabric glue so they won't come apart. The back of the dress gets a hook and eye closure and a snap to hold the skirt shut, and then it goes on the doll. The fabric still needs to be ironed, but I think the dress turned out nicely, and it's perfect for spring and summer. I seem to really be liking the combination of black with pastel colors lately, and I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. That's all for today though. Thanks for watching. Bye.